As the countdown escapes our lips and the big and little hand meet at the 12, eagerly tomorrow we will leave behind the year that changed us all. With each new year comes a slew of promises and self proclamations, commitments to ourselves which often reveal to hold little water. Why is it that we take our commitments to ourselves less seriously than those that we commit to others? What lesson from 2020 have we earned that can guide us to making realistic resolutions that'll have a lasting impact? Let's discuss. Today, I welcome my friend, Rochester, New York, comedian and podcast host Todd Youngman. I'm Amanda Ashley, and this is episode 75 Resolution. Welcome to Afternoon Cocktail. Todd Youngman, you don't get a more triumphant intro than that, do you?
No, I've never had an intro like that. That was fantastic. I love it.
Oh, great. How are you?
I'm doing really well. And you know what's funny is that you were the last person I met right before quarantine.
Quarantine.
You
I
were
know,
like,
isn't that
you were the
crazy?
last you're the last friend I made right before quarantine.
It is really wild because so I actually met you through your son,
Right.
Toby.
Isn't that funny? Yeah.
And it's so funny because when I invited you to be on the show, I actually thought that
Yeah.
because I was thinking about, we were just talking before we went on air about how hosting this podcast really was an effort to get better at certain things.
Yeah.
And looking back at my interview with Toby, like that Bo has before, it was the day before everything got shut down.
It was
And
literally.
yeah,
Yeah.
literally the day before. Because I remember sitting at the bar and just being like, we're all like with our hands in the air, like we don't know what's about to happen,
Yep.
kind of thing. And then everything was shut down.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny. Like I feel like I've grown so tremendously in this type of environment, hosting, speaking with people, interviewing because since then. So yeah.
Did you do anything like this before quarantine, or is this your first go at it?
Um, this was my first go at like hosting a
Yeah.
podcast, but I did like these little hack interviews at our previous open mics, and
Okay.
the songwriters roundup was something that I was starting to do that with, and that Bo was kind of encouraging me. I did a lot of hosting stuff, but
Sure.
I would never say I was very good at it,
Well, you guys do a fantastic job. These are great little chats. I really enjoy watching them. So.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to do and to put out there. But let's hear more about you. Tell
Okay.
our audience, for those who don't know you or have the pleasure of knowing you yet,
Yeah.
can you share with them a little bit about you and your background and who
Yeah.
you are?
Sure. Well, like you said, I'm Todd Youngman. I'm a Rochester-based comedian. I've been doing comedy 11 years now, and it's something that I've always wanted to do my entire life. Just never had the guts to try it, especially when you're in your 20s. You care what people think about you. You don't want to go up and try it. But what had happened was is that I started seeing a therapist in the 2000s early on, and one of the first things he had asked me is, what are two things you always wanted to try and do but you never did? And I said, well, I always wanted to act, or I would love to be a stand-up comic. And he's like, well, why don't you try stand-up comedy? I'm like, yeah, I'm too old now, because I was at 40 at the time. And he took that as a cop out and challenged me at that point to go do an open mic. So I did. I went and did an open mic over at Love and Cup over at RIT, and it was a big failure, horrible. And so I had to come back and report that to him. I reported it to him. I told him how bad it was, and then he's like, "Well, let's find a comedy club for you to try it at." So he, looked up the comedy club, which was in Webster at the time, that Mark Ippolito ran, and they had a showcase. So I went and I did a showcase. I got a few laughs, and I was hooked, and I haven't turned back since. So um, that in a nutshell, my little road to starting stand-up comedy.
I am always so impressed with comics. I mean, like, I feel like I've said this before,
Yeah,
and shout out to Mark Ippolito. He's a really good dude. We've had
Mark's the
him
best.
on our show in the past,
Yeah.
early on when we first started. And yeah, he's done a really great thing for our comedy scene here in
Are you kidding?
Rochester, for
He's
sure.
done so much and for so many years. And I be honest with you, I wouldn't be doing it as much as I do if it wasn't for Mark. He has a lot of faith in me, and I love him like a brother. So.
And he really was the one that kept encouraging you too, right? And he
Oh,
was
he did.
pushing
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like right after I did that showcase, I went up to, I didn't even know him, and I went up to him afterwards, and I just asked him, what do I do to keep continuing to do this? And he told me just keep coming to the club, watch shows, talk to headliners, talk to openers, get to know people. And I did. I would pay. I'd go on, Thursday, Fridays, or Saturdays, watch a show, do what he said, and eventually he would give me 5-minute spots to just go up on like a Thursday night to try it out. And it just kind of grew from there, where he got more faith in me, put me up as a host, and then eventually bumped me up to a feature act. So he's done a ton for me, and like I said, I wouldn't be doing what I do now without him. And now I'm also his marketing manager over at Comedy at the Carlson. So.
So, I mean, it's funny. We had Cindy Zakari Arena
Yeah.
on in the past too with Mark, and she
Okay.
she had said the same as you. That she kind of came into comedy a little bit later in life, and that Mark really kind of inspired her and pushed her to keep going with
Yeah.
what she was doing. And yeah, it's good to have people like that. Like
It
Mark
definitely
seems to,
is.
yeah,
And that's the thing,
yeah.
and I always tell like younger comics, if Mark, if he sees something in you, he'll nurture you and, give you the spots and, the pats on the back that you need. It's just that when, somebody's not giving you those pats on the back, that's when you need to be concerned. But he's definitely there to guide people and help them along.
And those pats don't come lightly. I mean, he's not
No.
afraid to tell you how it is either.
No, Amanda, I mean, he's running a business, and
Yeah.
the product that's on the stage is reflected, it reflects on us as a business. So people be like, oh, we went and saw a great comedy show. Every act, all three were great. You don't want to put somebody up there that's, not ready, and then that reflects on us, and then the people are like, yeah, it was a pretty good show, but there was a couple stinkers. But it's important to the product you put on the stage. And I'm sure it's the same thing in music with you. You don't want, especially you as a headliner, you don't want somebody that's gonna drag you down as an opener.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you were saying that you're doing the marketing and management for
Yeah.
comedy at the Carlson.
Yeah.
So, what are you guys up to now? Like, I haven't, like, I know comedy's also suffered as all entertainment has throughout, the shutdowns and so on and so forth. So, how are you guys holding up?
We're surviving. All right. It was terrible. Like, okay, when the first quarantine happened, it happened, and we had to shut down just like everybody else did. And then Mark Ippolito and Vinny Paulino, I'm not sure if you know Vinny, he
I
works
love
at,
Vinny.
well, yeah, Vinny's great,
Uh,
and they came up with this great idea of doing drive-in style comedy shows in our parking lot, where we built a stage on our sidewalk, face the parking lot, and Vinny had an FM transmitter that went through our microphone, and it went into people's cars, so they could hear the audio and watch a comedy show. And it worked out great. We did, like, I think 3-4 weeks of that, and then we got word that the phases were starting to open up, and that we could do shows inside, because we were part of the restaurant tavern and blah blah blah. So we opened up for 4 weeks, and then we got word from the governor that we had to shut down, and that was back in July. And we haven't been able to do live shows, drive-in or inside the club for since July. So it's been tough, because we want to do jokes and make people laugh, and we can't do it. And it's not just us, it's all in New York State. I mean, there's a lot of clubs that that are really suffering. There's been a lot of clubs that went out of business.
yeah.
Yeah.
I know. It really like breaks my heart, especially, and I've said this so many times on the show, like Rochester is such a community that thrives on small business,
It
and
does.
supporting locally, like we have such a great culinary scene, a great art scene and music, and
Yep.
even comedy too. It extends to all of that, and to see everybody just kind of. I mean, this is really affecting everyone.
Oh, so many people.
Hard.
It's so tough. It really is. But I mean, all we can do is just sit and hope that this all passes soon and we can all get back to a little bit of normalcy, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, what was it like growing up, Todd Youngman? I mean, was laughter a big part of your household? Were your parents
Yeah.
very funny? Yeah.
My mom was a real pistol. She's one of those moms that, would say anything, didn't care, just let things fly. But I was the youngest of three boys. So I had to show off if I wanted to get some attention. So that was my thing. I would, I do armpit farts or, making, just constantly making an ass of myself at the house. But I was always trouble at school, because I was always trying to entertain everybody else at school. I spent a lot of time in detention because of trying to be funny in class, and teachers didn't find it too funny. But it was, I that was just me. I mean, that was my personality of just being a kid, and it was something like I knew, like eventually I someday wanted to be able to do something with that nonsense and make money at it. And here I am. I'm making money. I work in comedy, so it worked out.
Yeah, but sometimes, like, I mean, how do you go from thinking you're funny and like making the people around you laugh and getting people in your general circles to think you're funny, right? That's one thing.
That's
But
easy.
then yeah, that's easy, right?
Yeah.
Your friends and family will always humor your
Right.
stupidity, you know. But
Yeah.
then to take that on stage and expect an audience of people that are stone faced, and that are like ready to be,
Exactly. You're doing it
ready to
exactly
laugh.
right. Yep.
They got the side slant,
Yeah.
like, is this dude gonna make me laugh or what kind of thing?
Yeah.
Like, takes balls.
Yeah.
I
It does.
mean, I give you guys credit for
You're right.
sure.
It's funny that you did the arm fold because that's exactly what you see sometimes when you get up on stage. And it's true. You get up on stage and that audience is like, okay, let's hear it. Let's start slinging some jokes, make us laugh. And sometimes it works, and there's a lot of times it doesn't work. You'll go up there and lay some eggs, and people don't want any part of it. But it does. It takes a lot of balls to go up on stage and try and make people laugh, because as you know, like, comedy is so subjective. Not every form of comedy makes everybody laugh. Like the other day I wrote on Facebook that I just didn't get Schitt's Creek, and you would have thought I wrote the most political.
Murder.
Right? I mean,
Creative murder.
people went crazy. And like, people probably message me like, how can somebody who performs comedy not find this show funny? I'm like, look, I couldn't get into it. And it's not like every bit of comedy isn't for everybody, but I learned my lesson. I'll never talk shit on Schitt's Creek again.
Yeah, I personally love that show. I think that
Yeah,
show's hilarious too.
it's
But
fine, but it
I,
just wasn't for me.
it's just the same thing goes for movies. Like, people are flocking to go see Wonder Woman right now, and I'm like, I think that first one kind of sucked.
I never saw it.
Personally,
Yeah.
it's not my taste. Like, and it's not meant to be everybody's taste. It just is what it is.
But you know what? You might get some inboxes here about that comment.
Hey, yeah, I'm sure I will, and I'm okay with it. I'm ready for it. You know
Yeah.
what? I appreciate everybody's and respect everybody's opinions.
Yeah.
That's mine and doesn't have to mean anything,
Right.
people. Don't take it to heart. But
The views and
so
opinions.
yeah, exactly. What was the biggest like bomb that you felt you like did you ever feel like you had a performance that you just totally bombed, and like
Yeah.
how did you persevere through that?
You just keep going. You just keep
Yeah.
pushing through it, even as much as you want to just walk off stage. You have to persevere through the time you were allotted to do. Um, there's a couple times I did one at the old club out in Webster, and it was a weekend show. I did 5 shows all weekend with a guy named John Witherspoon. I'm not sure if you know who John Witherspoon is. He was in the movie Fridays, and so I went up and I had 4 great shows, really good shows. And then the last Saturday show was so bad that the audience was asking me to leave the stage. It was so bad. And
Oh.
that one always stuck with me. And then one I did recently here at the club, I did a morning show. which never works because comedy works best when there's a dark room and it's dark outside. And I did it. It was a corporate thing for a bunch of dentists, and it just did not go over well. It was like a big lead balloon. You just feel the air like leaving the room, nobody laughing. And it was, it was a show that they wanted to do right before they were having a business meeting. And I don't think anybody was there in the right mindset. And I don't even think they were going to have somebody coming up on stage to do jokes. So they weren't even mentally ready for this idiot standing on stage trying to tell jokes at 10 in the morning.
Do you feel like would you consider yourself a fairly confident person?
I guess to a degree. But most of all, like I don't think so. I have my moments, but I think when I get on stage, there's just something about you getting on stage, you can become somebody else for, however the amount of time you're on stage. I do well, like I'm not like walking around like I'm all sheepish or something, but I think confidence wise, I don't know. You sometimes you flash back to your teen years, and you think, what am I trying to do here? I'm not this guy. I shouldn't be doing this, but I don't know. That's a tough one.
Well, I think like every performer has a bit of an alter ego, right? Like when they step on stage, because like and as confident as I am in certain things, I'm really also not overly confident in a lot of other areas. So, I think it comes with your experience too. I'm sure you feel, right? Like as you gain more experience, that confidence kind of grows.
Sure. Yeah. I think the more you get on stage, the more confident you become. But usually like I don't know, half hour before showtime, I'm batting around how confident I actually am. Should I be doing this? Should I be going up on stage in front of 300 people and trying to make them laugh? But then you get up there and just the minute that you hit a spotlight and there's a good energy in the room, it transforms you. You become full of confidence especially when that first joke hits and the crowd laughs. It just builds you up and you just keep rolling from there.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
What never fails to make you laugh? Is it still armpit farts?
No, farts in general. That's always funny. But people falling, to me,
oh my God, me too. Yeah.
I could watch videos of like people just falling. I know it's terrible, but just something about it, watching people fall for, because there's a human body, it's this perfectly tuned machinery, and then it does something like fall or farts. That's funny to me. I find humor in that. But I don't know. Those are two things that definitely make me. What makes you laugh?
I definitely people falling for me too. I can't. I lose it like every time, and it's always so inappropriate. It's always the most inappropriate falls that you probably shouldn't laugh at. But yeah, I don't know. I that's definitely probably top. Yeah, I feel like I'm still like such an immature kid. Like I have kind of sick humor. I always have. So the dirtier the humor, typically, the better.
Right.
Yeah, or the more stupid, the better for me.
Yeah, that's why I'm too. Like I always say, and a lot of people say it. There's still a 13-year-old boy inside them, and I'm sure you got 13-year-old boy sense of humor too.
Oh yeah, I definitely do.
Right.
I'm not afraid to admit it either.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
This is not an actual alcoholic drink. It's a mocktail.
Like
yeah. It's actually Pellegrino, San Pellegrino.
Okay. Right,
yeah, it's kind of like my once in a while. I just like to. I'm not really a soda person.
Yeah.
At all, but like I like sparkling waters a lot. So a lot of times, what you guys see here, that's pretty much what I'm drinking.
It looks like beer. I thought you were drinking like a fishbowl of beer.
Beer, nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that'd be an impressive glass, right?
It would be. Yeah, I'd be impressed that you're drinking it at this hour.
Nah, I can't right now. Maybe tomorrow. I'll save myself for tomorrow. Or later. We'll see.
Yeah, right.
But how do you typically prepare for the stage? Do you write out your bits? How do you prepare like your questions? Not your questions, your
my bits.
Jokes. Thank you. Yeah.
Usually, and it depends on the time you're given too. You could be hosting where you do 5 to 7 minutes, or you're doing 15 to 20 as a feature act. So I plan that all out depending on the slot I'm booked for. So if I'm doing a 5 to 7 minute, I take my main act and I kind of splice it down to, and you get to know how long each bit is, so you can splice it together and exactly, okay, I have 5 to 7 minutes and I got to get off the stage at the end of this joke. So that's how I measure how I want my set to run. And sometimes I'll put jokes in the front end of my act, to appeal to, say, I have an older crowd, or if I have a crowd that's in their mainly 20s, I usually try and start off with a joke that'll appeal to the age group so that I can get some footing with them. I don't want to like go up in front of like a 20-something-year-old group and do a thing about the 70s and they have no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So if I see it's like an older group, my age, people older, hey, maybe they want to hear some stuff about the 70s, growing up in the 70s and 80s. So I start off with that. So, it's little, strategic things like that, just where you place the jokes, and especially how you finish the joke. And you try and get done, if you're 5 to 7 minutes, you get done in 7 minutes. Or if you're 15 to 20, you get done in 20 minutes. Otherwise, Mark will let you know that you weren't done in 15 to 20 minutes. And it's never a good feeling.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
do you ever run your bits by like your family before
Never.
you take it? No, never?
No, no, no.
Not by anybody? You just go for it?
No, no, they don't. My family doesn't laugh. They're sick of me. Yeah.
They're numb to
They
you?
live with me. they, they're sick of nonsense. No, I bounce things off Mark. Like we'll go to lunch and I'll throw, joke ideas at him. Or it's funny too. Like you drive around and be like, "Oh my God, look at that!" And be like, "Oh my God, that would be a perfect bit." And and then you go up on stage and you put it in the middle of your act somewhere and pepper it in and see if it's something that'll stick and people laugh at. And if they do, you add to it and you kind of flesh out that joke a little more. And if it doesn't work, you just take it right out of the act. It has no business being in there. So that you try some new things.
So it sounds like you keep a few things in your pocket. You might show up with your act in mind, but then
Yeah.
you're trying to read your audience, so you kind of have your backups here and here, right?
Yeah, it's important to have, yeah, you got to have, backup jokes and stuff to, you never know, because like say you're on stage as a feature act and the headliner hasn't even arrived at the club yet, and you're doing your set, and then the showroom manager will wave to you from the back telling you to stretch, saying that the headliner hasn't arrived, to keep going. And that's when you have those jokes in your back pocket, because otherwise if you go up with just 20 minutes and you're supposed to go a little longer, you'll just be standing there staring at the audience and nothing to say. So you're right, it's always good to have a little extra in your front and back pocket in case you need it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Do you think comedy is something that could be learned over time? Like, like maybe people that think they're kind of funny, but they're like, hey, I want to be a comedian, like maybe I'll go take a comedy class or something. Do you think it's something that can be learned or that it's just innate?
I think it can be learned just by going on stage and doing comedy. I don't think being funny is something, I know it's something you can't teach. You can't teach funny. I think it's, like you said, innate. I think it's inside you. But I think the writing of jokes and then going up and trying to get those laughs, that's where you learn the hard way of making people laugh, and comedy itself.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's just something you can't. I don't know. And I'm not putting down classes, and people take classes, and it's great. I think for joke structure and learning how to write jokes, I think that's great for classes. But you just can't be like, okay, now today we're going to teach you how to be funny, and
Yeah.
it's not something you do. And like I said earlier, it's easy to be funny with your friends. Everybody, we all do well around our friends and stuff. And then your friends will always be like, oh my God, you should be a comic. And it's not a good idea to listen to that advice, but you're funny with your friends, but you never know until you step on stage. It's a tough thing, and it's a big step. And if people are out there and they're thinking, hey, I want to try comedy, give it a shot. You know, when life gets back to normal, look for an open mic and give it a shot.
Did you grow up or currently? I mean, who are some of your favorite stand-up comedians that like? Did you ever watch people religiously or follow careers? Like, who are some of your
Yeah,
influences?
like when I grew up, like I know I'm older than you. I grew up and watched things like I would watch the Mike Douglas show, and I'd watch it. Sometimes my parents would let me watch the Tonight Show when I was little, if like Don Rickles was on, and any kind of show that had comics on. I loved watching it because I used to think it was so cool how these people came out and they kind of commanded the audience and made them laugh. Like, how are they doing that? And I used to joke that I learned more from George Carlin in like all his HBO specials than I did in all my years in the Brighton Central School District. Like, I learned so much from watching him on those HBO specials. I used to love those. I used to love Howie Mandel's specials, Robin Williams, um, those HBO specials. I mean, it was an event back then. Like, but now, you know, you can put on Netflix and find a stand-up special anytime you want. But it was always exciting when there was like an HBO or a Showtime special that had, you know, one of these big famous comics of the time, and especially the Eddie Murphy ones from the 80s.
I love the old Eddie Murphys.
Delirious and Raw. Those are so good. I mean, those are the things, those were the shows that I really like. I put my teeth into and really enjoyed. Like that Delirious album, I knew it by heart. I used to know it by heart. But yeah, those are the things. And then, you know, just like sitcoms, like 80s sitcoms, like in 70s, like Laverne and Shirley and Happy Days and Three's Company, all those shows. I just loved shows that made you laugh. I mean, there's enough seriousness in the world in your everyday life that it's just nice to escape into something that wasn't like drama. And that's why I gravitated to comedy, you know.
Do you think there's what comedians or comics do you consider underrated?
Underrated. That should be more popular now, like than they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
I personally think Tom Papa, I don't know if you know who he is. Do you know who he is? Right.
No.
You should watch his Netflix special. I think he should be, he's got a couple. I think he should be more famous than he is now. There's a guy named Nate Bargatze who's pretty big right now, but I think he should be a household name. That's another one. Nate Bargatze on Netflix. Check that out.
Okay.
And then another one is a woman named Fortune Feimster, who is, she's a big name, but do you know her name?
No,
Yeah,
I don't.
these are she should be a bigger name than she is. She's hilarious, and she also has a special on Netflix. So if anybody's looking for some good stand-up specials, check out Fortune, Nate, and Tom Papa. They're all so good. They're just great writers, and they're all relatable, funny jokes, and I think people would enjoy it.
So working at Comedy at the Carlson, I mean, Mark brings in some real impressive acts, you know. I
Yeah,
mean, who's been one of your, I'm sure you've met a lot of famous people at this
yeah,
point.
yeah.
Who has been somebody that really sticks out in your mind that you just really enjoyed meeting?
There's been a few. I think one that really stood out, and I know a lot of people are like, "What?" was Jimmy J.J. Walker, and I'm not sure if you know who Jimmy Walker is. He used to be on a show called Good Times in the '70s, and he was a huge stand-up comic back then. But it was a show I grew up watching, and it was just such an honor to meet him and to share the stage with him a couple times and do some shows with him. And we continue to be friends now. Like I'll text with him and call him every once in a while just to see how he's doing out in Las Vegas. And it was just cool to meet that guy. But there's been so many. I mean, I can't even think right offhand. Mark is a booking machine. He gets so many great acts that come through our club, all A-list acts. And God, I wish I could think of more to tell you. But have you been to the club to see shows?
I have. I've seen a few shows. I actually, Bo and I performed a bunch of times, like when the
Yeah.
club first opened up, before and after certain acts that came in.
Oh,
And
that's right, in the
yeah,
bar. Yep.
yeah, I don't know if he was still doing that towards the end. I know he tries to infuse music into the
Yeah.
club as well, but it was fun. I
Yeah.
I would love, we'd sneak into the club to watch the acts in
Yeah. Yeah.
between.
Yeah, no, we haven't done that in a while. Maybe we'll get back to doing that once we reopen and stuff, get some more bar acts going.
Yeah, it was super fun. I always really enjoyed it. And it's just such he did such a great job with that. I love the history behind the building. You
Yeah,
know, it's really cool. He's done a really cool thing.
yeah.
Um, what does the word laughter mean to you?
It means everything to me. Like
Yeah.
laughter, and especially right at this moment. Like I think people need it more than ever. Like it's there's and they say that laughter it gives off I forget what it is, but it makes you
Positive endorphins,
endorphin,
right?
right? It gives
Yeah.
that off, and that's what I love is that you can go up on stage and you could have a room of 100 people and you go up and make them laugh, and that makes me, if you make those people laugh, it makes me feel good because those people maybe had a bad day at work, maybe they've had a bad week, maybe they've had a horrible year, and this is the one time they get out and they can see a show, and that you went up there and struck a chord with them and made them feel good for that brief moment. That's what's important to me about laughter, is the control in a positive way that you can have over somebody, and that to me is so important.
To me, laughter is everything also. I always felt like the people that I've laughed hardest with are the people I hold closest to
Yeah,
my heart.
yeah,
You know, like anybody that's I've really had a genuine belly aching type of laugh is like
yeah.
the people that I care for the most, you know, that I feel like knows me most intimately.
Right.
Do you agree with that?
Oh, I totally
Yeah.
agree. Like there's no laughs like with your best pals or people in your family, especially, when you laugh, it says nothing like that laugh, like when you're not supposed to laugh in like church, and you're at church, you start laughing and you're not doing, you're trying to hold it back. But yeah, there's just nothing like a good laugh with friends, and especially ones that know you and know your sense of humor. If it's a dark sense of humor or if it's middle of the road sense of humor, there's just nothing like, laughing with people.
Oh, you know what I'm so guilty of, which is a downfall of mine, is I laugh out of nervousness.
Oh yeah.
And Bo can contest to this. I like every since I was a kid, you know, like my mom, and I always thought it was because my mom had this like scratchy Brooklyn, like New York,
Yeah,
well, Bronx, New York accent,
yeah,
you know, and whenever she'd yell, like it for some reason just would make me like giggle, you
yeah,
know, and I always thought that that was why I was laughing and it would drive her insane.
yeah,
And I've carried that into my life as an adult, and I realize it's just kind of a nervous thing,
yeah.
but I can't control myself. Like, and it's so bad, you
Yeah.
know. But my son is starting to do it too, and now
Oh,
I'm starting to become my mom, and it's kind of a vicious cycle.
that's
But
genetic.
yeah, oh yeah, I think it is. Do you ever nervously laugh like that, or
Oh,
is
yeah.
am
I
I
mean, I
just a
think
freak?
that's just human nature. Everybody has that. The whole thing when you're not supposed to laugh. You want to hold it in, and that makes it even worse. I know exactly what you mean. Everybody has that. That's a human. It's almost like a human flaw, but it's the best laugh.
Yeah, it really is. I also am guilty of laughing in my sleep. Like normal people talk in their sleep, you know, like,
You
well, I
laugh?
feel like I literally wake myself up hysterically laughing sometimes. It's
Yeah,
so weird. Like that I'll be like in my sleep and the funniest thing about that actually is I'll wake up and I'll think back to what made me laugh in the dream, and
yeah.
90% of the time it's not even funny.
Yeah.
Isn't that so weird?
And you
But
wake up
yeah.
and no, you probably tell Bo that it was so funny, and then he's like, "Oh, it's not even funny."
And when I don't wake up, Bo's like, I usually like will wake up to Bo just like nudging me, like, shut
Stop
up, you know,
laughing.
like, yeah, the weird ways the laughter comes out of me, it's unbelievable.
I've never
But
heard of that. Somebody's laughing in their sleep like that.
literally laugh in my sleep. My sister, so like you got me who laughs in my sleep, and then I have my sister who is like cursing. Like
Yeah,
I would think like she would come home from college and sleep in my room, and she would like it sounded like she was gonna murder somebody.
yeah,
You know, like the way she would like cursing and arguing with somebody, and I'd wake her up and be like, "What the heck are you arguing about?" And she'd be like, "Oh, really? That's what I was doing." So
Yeah.
yeah, it's like both sides of the spectrum. It's
Yeah,
crazy,
that's funny.
but so you also have hosted your own podcast as your quarantine side hustle, right?
Yep, I did that.
And
Yep.
and now you're hosting with your friend George at the Curiously George podcast.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about both
Yeah,
and
sure.
what? Yeah.
Yeah, I started doing one like right around the time you did as well. And I just did it. I was doing it for my friends list on Facebook, where I thought, I'll just, to kill time, interview friends and introduce them to other people on my friends list. They can get to know people I know in my life. So I started talking to people, and it was interesting. It was a lot of fun, and a lot of people watched because you had a captive audience. And then when life opened up, people went about their lives and they kind of stopped watching. So I, at that point, my friend George Poulios, he just moved back from New York City, he was saying how he's always wanted to do a storytelling podcast, and asked me if I'd help him out. And because I'd done a podcast or two, and so I joined him, and now we do that. Now it's called the Curiously George podcast, and we just talk to different people in business, actors, entertainers, musicians, drag queens, film producers, film editors. So, and they come on and they tell their story, and it's really interesting. Like you've been finding out, I'm sure, is hearing people's stories and finding out what their motivation is and what made them become what they are. And that's what we're doing. And it's been a lot of fun listening. We just did our 10th episode, so we're small, but we're keep going on it. So
Now, what was George doing in New York before this podcast?
yeah, George, for he wasn't doing podcasts, but he was an executive for years. He worked for Giorgio Armani. He worked for
Wow.
Apple. Yeah, right. So he would work between New York City and London, and so he's worked in business for like 35 years or so, 35, 40 years, 35 years, and so he works as like an executive coach now and helps people out. So he does that end of the podcast, and I just kind of chime in with questions as well. But we do a little, banter at the beginning where we just talk, about whatever's going on in the world, and then we talk to our guests, and it's been fun. It's really informative, and I really enjoy doing it.
Speaking of talking to our guests, I just wanted to say hi to those that are tuned in. I am watching here. And Edward Benway, thank you for not leaving me out in the dust. He also laughs in his sleep, apparently.
Oh, good. Okay, good to know.
So I'm not the only freak here.
Yeah, well, I'm probably gonna
um,
start laughing in my sleep now.
so funny. And Nicole Graham also laughs in her sleep. So yeah, I guess this is more of a normal thing, which is good to
Yeah,
hear. Also, if you guys are watching at the moment, and you have any questions for Todd regarding comedy, or you just want to chime in our conversation, I am looking here, so feel free to ask those questions.
yeah,
So Todd, going back to George,
yeah,
curiously George. So you said George and both you and George have had a personal relationship. He's actually the godfather of your
yeah.
children.
Yeah, he is. I've known George since sixth grade, and he's one of my best friends. We had a very close knit group of friends growing up. We all grew up in the same neighborhoods, and we hung out, and we've all stayed in touch and till this day. And George and I especially. And so when he moved back, he had enough of New York City, and especially with the coronavirus hitting there so hard, he moved back. And that's when we decided, let's do this. Let's have some fun and, have a go at it. And we're enjoying it. I know, everybody's got podcasts and stuff, but it's fun to do, it's fun to sit there and, talk to people and learn things. I love it.
Definitely. I think we all have a lot to teach one another. So
Yeah.
it's definitely cool. What has hosting a podcast taught you about yourself?
A lot. It does. It could, when you hear other people's stories, you try and put yourself in the position of other people, of what they're going through and things they've, done in their lives. And, it makes me think about me as a person, especially when you think you got things so bad and then you hear somebody else's story. It really puts things in perspective for you. And that's something that have taken from a lot of the interviews we've done.
Sure. How do you feel like it differs from, your comedic experiences on stage?
Oh, the podcast?
Uh-huh. Like hosting a podcast.
Yeah, it does, it differs because I'm not trying to make people laugh in the podcast, but it does continually work that brain muscle where you're talking and trying to convey messages to people. So, and like I said, you and I were talking before the show that you start and talk to people, you might be working out a bit, talking back and forth with somebody, and then I can utilize that in, my stage act. But that's something that I enjoy, is that it continually works this brain muscle to talk to people and, hold conversations, which people don't converse much anymore. It's all done through phones.
Yeah, very much. And it sure does, it channels a different side of you,
It does.
and
Yeah.
you're really great you're very hospitable, and you're great to watch, and to watch interview.
Yeah.
Seeing you do this on the flip side of things, is a pleasure to watch.
Well, the pleasure of being here and talking to you. I'm so happy you had me on. I really enjoyed myself.
Oh, likewise, Todd. Thank you. And I just wanted to ask you, so today's theme is resolution. Tomorrow's New Year's Eve.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
What goals do you wish to accomplish in the coming year? Where would you like to take your career?
It's a good question. I don't know. Like, do I want to take my career? I don't know where my career could really go. I mean, I'm happy with where I am in the comedy world. I'm happy as a feature act or a host, just going up and making people laugh. But I don't know. I don't know. Resolution wise, I've never been one to say my resolution is to lose weight or my resolution is to eat better. I've never done that. I don't know. I'm not sure what my resolution would be. Have you thought about one?
Um, you know, I'm going to talk a little bit about it more in like my
Oh, okay.
closing monologue, I
Yeah.
suppose. I'm not really sure just yet. I
Yeah.
think, I don't know how to answer that yet. I've been
You-
thinking a lot about a lot of things. I think what I've realized that it's, every year we make these promises to ourselves that we're going to, you
Yeah.
know, lose 10 pounds or do more of this, do more of that. And I think this whole COVID experience just really has brought to focus how important mental health,
Yes.
and how important happiness is. And I think for me moving forward, to continue to move in a direction of doing things that support both of those things. It's not very
Yeah.
prolific in how I'm stating that, but
Yeah. I know.
yeah, I think that's my main goal for the next year. I have a lot. I have a lot of goals. I would like to do more with my writing. I suppose that's a resolution of some sort. But yeah, just to do more with my writing, and to keep pursuing the things that bring fulfillment.
Well, let's resolve to see each other again in 2021.
Please.
You were the last person I met before the lockdown. Let's just resolve that we get to see each other again and we can give each other a big hug. How's that?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, me too.
I would. Hey, take care of yourself and your
You too.
family. Have a happy new year. And thank you so much for being a part of our show today.
Thank you
Looks
so
like we
much.
got some runaway hamsters in house out of Boise, Idaho. Hi, everybody. Are you there? Could you hear me?
Hi.
Hi, guys. How's it going?
Doing good. How are you?
Very good. Could you all introduce yourselves? So we got triplets, and these are all siblings. This is called TRHibe, also known as the Runaway Hamsters. Do you guys mind introducing each of yourselves?
Hi, I'm Isabella, the older sister, the older sibling.
I'm Abby. I'm the oldest of the triplets.
I'm Riley. I'm the middle triplet.
And I'm the youngest. I'm Gabby.
Hi, Gabby. And you guys just the triplets. You all just celebrated a birthday recently.
Yes, we did. Our birthday was December 13th.
Happy birthday! I hope you celebrated well, as best as you could, at least, right?
Yeah. We did a lot. We played games. We just spent our time here at home.
I love it. Well, did you guys want to kick us off with a song?
Sure. Yeah.
Sure. This song is called Water, and it's about not letting things get to you. like water on the back of a duck like rain on a pickup truck. It doesn't hurt at all. It looks so bright when it's on the water.
Bravo! You just heard the sounds of Isabella, Abby, Gabby, and Riley, all of TRHibe, aka the Runaway Hamsters from Boise, Idaho. Thank you guys for joining and sharing your music with us. So, oh yeah, definitely. It's a pleasure to have you. Do you guys mind? I don't know if it's possible to come a little closer so I could talk to you
Yeah.
and hear
Oh, yeah.
hear you a little.
We'll have our camera come closer.
There we go. Yeah, maybe that's a little bit easy. Yeah, we want to see those beautiful faces, those beautiful young faces. So Isabella is 16, and then we have the triplets, Riley, Abby, and Gabby, who all just turned 15 years old. I am always blown away by siblings that just not only are trying to, I mean, most siblings at this age are like going, pulling each other's hair or like hating each other, slamming the doors in each other's faces. How do you guys maintain such a close relationship and to be working together like this?
Well, it helps being raised with each other since birth, and you learn to get along when you have to be stuck with other people all the time.
Yeah, but we're not perfect siblings either. Like we sometimes don't agree on some things,
Yeah.
like songs, like writing songs.
We all have strong opinions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that's gotta be tough, right? Like
Mhm.
it's hard collaborating with anybody, as songwriters. So do you each have a part in the writing process, or does one of you
but
do
I do a lot.
predominantly? Okay.
I have a lot of ideas,
Yes,
but
we
yeah, they all
each
part
have
help
a part in
together.
the writing.
Yeah, we all put our parts in.
We all come up with our own ideas. We'll try to put them together, but if they don't go at all, we're like, sorry, that doesn't
So-
work.
Is there kind of somebody who like lays down the gavel, that's like, all right, you guys, like let Riley, take this song, or like do any of the songs, kind of get cut from the
Oh,
albums?
Side on.
We kind of
together.
like ask
Yeah.
each other, like, do you feel comfortable doing this? Because if not, we'll make someone else do it.
We're all the judge.
We help judge each other.
Sure. Well, that's, what, it's very special what you have, and no siblings are perfect, so yeah, I mean, kudos to you all. When did you start doing this? Like, how young were you all when you started playing your instruments and deciding that you're going to be a family group?
Well, we started a band when we were 5 and 7, but
Wow.
we played the piano when we were 2 and
Two?
4.
2, 4.
Wow.
My dad piano and wanted to try doing other things.
Yeah,
but-
Abby's,
Yeah.
I'm
I'm
the
on
only
the
one who
keyboard,
stuck
but-
with it.
So
then-
interesting.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you didn't. You didn't. You're okay.
We made a song for our friend who had cancer to raise money for him to help him,
And
and
to
then that
raise
kind
money.
of got us started. And after that, people started seeing us. Like it takes one thing to start walking.
Sure, it was the catalyst for it all, huh? So do your parents play music?
Yes,
Yes.
they do.
Our parents, they played music for a while. They're kind of the ones who got us into it.
Yeah.
I mean,
They're the one.
yeah.
So were instruments just like always lying around your house, and eventually, one by one, you started gravitating towards the piano and the other instruments?
Yeah. We started buying instruments, and we just got into it. And it wouldn't be we wouldn't be here without our parents. It's because of them we're here.
That's awesome. I
We-
love it.
Yeah, we also write songs with 2 guys. One of them is named Kent Wells, who lives in Nashville, and the other one is named Bilby.
The cool people.
Very cool. So now tell us a little bit about the song you just sung, Like Water. Could you tell us the backstory behind it?
Yes, please.
Water is about not letting all the bad things get to you. It's kind of like just letting everything that bothers you just roll off your back like water.
Like a duck.
Yeah.
Like with
Yeah.
rain.
Yeah.
We got inspiration from our ducks in our backyard.
I love it. That's so cool. Now, I mean, how do you let the water roll off you in situations like now? Like we're coronavirus, has kind of put us in a standstill musically. I mean, how are you persevering at this time?
Well, one of the ways I kind of cope with bad things is I draw or listen to music. I do art's always been the type of thing that's helped me.
I look for the good things. I just think of everything that's good, and it helps me a lot. Just think of what we have and what we could have, and all the good things.
I tell jokes like, what did the dad buffalo say to his son when he went to college?
What?
Bye, son.
Oh, you better be careful. Todd Youngman's going to steal that one. He's going to put that in his next act. Beware.
Maybe so if he puts me in there.
Yeah.
Just give him credit, Todd. Give him credit. Right? How do you say, what do you think about, so as young artists, I'm sure you're faced with the adversity of haters, right? There's a lot of vicious people out there that are looking to knock you guys down. How do you deal with that and deal with the criticism and let it roll off like water?
I don't. I'm joking.
It's like he's
Yeah.
suffering.
But in reality, so the way I deal with it though, if it's bothering me, I'll probably go play video games, or if the weather's nice, I'll go play outside, or I'll go on a walk or listen to music.
Music really helps.
And it helps since we don't look at the comments.
Yeah.
Music
Well,
videos.
not all the time. But
Yeah.
we try to avoid the negative ones.
Yeah.
We focus
Negative
on
comments, yeah. Like
Good for
water.
you guys. Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. Like water, for sure. I mean, what is the most important message as young artists that you would like to extend to your fans?
Be yourself. Don't let what other people say to you get to you. Just water.
Yeah.
Always be you.
Always be you. Yeah.
And we have a little song for it.
Yeah.
You think? What?
I love it.
Be
So
you.
Riley,
Be true. Do what it is that makes you shine bright all night. Do your thing and hit the lights and try and keep on trying. Your time will come. There's no denying.
woo, I love it. So are you guys just always singing in your household? Do your parents ever get annoyed with it?
They sing along with us a lot too. Like we're just all sitting around, just messing around, just singing
Man,
songs.
I could only imagine what car rides are like with you guys. It must be a lot of fun. Long road trips to Nashville, I'm sure, are very full of song. So, what are your plans for the new year? Where do you see yourself taking your careers in the coming year?
Well, we want to try and make even more people smile and be happier next year.
Make more smiles.
Yeah, but since COVID, we aren't
Traveling
as much. So for the new year, we're probably just gonna watch the potato go down and play games with our families.
Oh yeah, here in Idaho, we have something that's called the Great Potato Drop or something like that.
They drop a ginormous potato.
Instead of dropping a giant crystal ball, we drop a giant potato.
That's hilarious. I love it. So they broadcast that in
Yes.
Idaho?
Yes.
Yeah, they broadcast it on her.
Yeah, they're the whole state.
Great.
That is amazing. Could we find that online? I want to watch that.
Yeah, you can. They're gonna
Yeah.
do it here, but they're trying to hide it. So we're not gonna tell anybody where it is. But
Yeah.
I bet people are gonna
But
find
we
it.
can still watch it,
We're
which is
still
the
gonna
cool
watch
part.
it. Yeah.
That's
good.
so funny. I love that. I mean, do you have any plans for recording or writing more in the next year? What are your
We're
goals?
not writing even now, but we have a project we're working on.
We're hoping that we can get that released next year.
Yes, and we're writing some. We have songs that are written. They're just not fully recorded yet. We're still putting some finishing touches on them,
But we're close.
but they're not quite ready yet. So
Almost there.
Almost there.
we plan to have them released by next year.
Well, good luck to you guys. I'll keep an eye out, and I wish you continued success. You have such a huge following, and it seems like a lot of support, and well deserved. Keep up the good work and keep those positive attitudes going. It's awesome. Where can our audience be directed to your music and to learn more about you?
You can find our music on Spotify, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube.
iTunes.
You can watch your music videos on YouTube.
Twitter, Instagram, social media,
Amazon.
Amazon.
Well,
Uh,
thank you. Yeah,
Facebook,
make sure you all go and download their music and support these young artists. They are incredible. And your YouTube is very fun too. I enjoyed watching your videos. So make sure you check them out and subscribe to them on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Happy New Year, and thanks so much for accepting this interview with us today.
Thank you for having us. Thank
My
you.
pleasure. So today's show was resolution, and I want to leave you off with some closing words and my thoughts on what resolution means. New year, new start, new goals, updated vision. It is time to kick the bucket of empty promises and to ask yourself, what am I willing to bring to 2021? Privately, I instruct music lessons, and this week I've been asking each of my students to reflect on what they feel they've overcome and accomplished, and to think about what music goals they'd like to set for themselves in the new year. Twice a year, I've been making it a priority to check in with myself to evaluate both my personal and professional progress, and to make sure my actions are aligned with my self-proclamations. Self-checkpoints hold us accountable to the promises and goals we set for ourselves earlier in the year, and they allow us to witness what growth has transpired. 1 year ago, none of us ever would have imagined that 2020 would have amounted to be the year we all know it as now. Having such a vulnerable kick in the ass, pardon my French, has forced us all to look at ourselves and those around us in a different light. It's been an eye-opener and a true wake-up call to the fact that not everything is within our control. When considering your resolutions for 2021, keep in mind the lesson this previous year has revealed. Ask yourself, what value has this year brought me? What have I learned? What areas of my life have been strengthened or are in need of strengthening? How balanced do I feel? And how well am I managing my time? How will I manage my time better moving forward? Am I making my mental health and wellness a priority? In what ways am I positively contributing to my community, to those around me, and those I care for? Break the vicious cycle of creating empty promises by having this year's resolutions reflect achievable goals that support your means and objectives, but that also prioritize what you value. You see, the purpose of life isn't to gain millions of followers, to be 10 pounds thinner, or to achieve some level of perfection. It is to be happy and fulfilled, and to pay forward our knowledge, to share our stories, and to positively impact those lives that we touch. I wish you all a happy, healthy, safe, and prosperous new year. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, Todd Youngman. Thank you, TRHibe. Special thank you to Boyer Productions and to all our local sponsors, Blaze Catering, Rochester Woman Online, Chris Sirianni at IT Insights Rochester, and Bridgett Hoag of Empire Realty. Shout out to Patreon sponsors James Farley of Northwestern Mutual and Maiden Voyage Studios. Please take a moment and go check out our previous episodes. We have 74 of them before today. They're on all podcasting networks. Please check them out, download them, and catch up on your inspiration. And I will see you back here on Monday in a brand new year with a fresh start. You all have a great day and take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.